Hello, I'm Dara Bunjon. I am the food enthusiast here at J Moore Living. I'm a food writer, food stylist, PR maven, and a frustrated baker. Those of you joining us live today, please feel free to drop your questions or comments into the comment box, and I'll be checking from time to time. Our guest today is Peter Minaki. Peter is a proud Greek Canadian and creator of the popular blog site Kalofagas Greek Food and Beyond, and I'm hopefully saying it correctly, Kalofagas. They'll let me know. Kalofagas is the Greek word for gourmet. Peter wants to introduce the world to the delicious depths of Greek cuisine. Now, you can try out many of Peter's favorite dishes inspired by family recipes, trips to Greece and the Mediterranean, and his 7 cookbooks. Peter currently hosts and cooks for the Kalofagas Greek Supper Club, and that is in Canada, sold out venues in New York, Chicago, and LA. His latest book, just released, Everything One Pot Mediterranean. Let's bring in Peter.
Greetings, everybody.
Yasu.
Yasu, Dara, and thank you for the kind intro.
Well, you earned it. You earned it. 7 cookbooks, as they say in my neighborhood, Kenahor.
And you know what? If you asked me what I'd be doing 10 years ago today, I never would have thought I'd be involved with food and putting out cookbooks and cooking for people. So it's a nice, pleasant surprise and a nice turn or in life. Yeah,
taking a avocation and making it a vocation.
Yeah, the hobby became a full-time job for sure. Yeah.
Right. Now, if I'm correct, you used to be a financial analyst or financial advisor.
An advisor, yeah. Basically, I started off as a bank, in working in banks, and I got promoted to helping people with giving them advice on financial affairs. So, lending, mortgages, investments, etc. And after I left the bank, went to other companies that would give similar advice, but from a private institution standpoint, and you'd actually go into people's homes and advise them there rather than have them come to the office. So it's more service oriented in that regard. And the job was more about people skills than anything else, than numbers. You had to know some numbers, obviously, but it was more of a people skills kind of a job. And I guess now with myself being in food, we're in the people pleasing business, through food, etc. So
it's hospitality.
Yes,
we're here
indeed.
to please people. I think I heard something on one of the podcasts that you did, that you started blogging. Now, am I saying it correctly? Am I saying Kalofagas?
Kalofagas.
Kalofagas.
Yes.
Okay.
The literal translation from Greek to English is good eater. But it's in Greek, it is a way of expressing one as being a gourmand or a gourmet, but it's a good eat. That's the literal translation. Somebody that's a good eater.
I want to direct people now, and they'll see information float up in the comments section, how to reach you through social media. Your website is Kalofagas.ca, people.
Yes.
Peter is in Canada, so it's not a .com.
Somebody in Europe has the .com. I believe the website doesn't exist, but they still have rights. They're squatting on the name, but I don't feel like for it. .ca is fine for Canada.
Right.
And the way the internet works, you just type in Kalofagas, it'll give you that as the top hit anyhow.
Right. And it's right there coming up in the comments. Can you remember your first post when it was? Because I started blogging early on, and I went back today just because I know that you went in early on in blogging, that my first blog post was September 1st, 2005. And I think blogging had just started then. Do you
Hmm.
remember?
And even it started even earlier. Like I listened to another blogger that's done quite well, and he's really interesting gentleman, David Libovitz, who lives in Paris currently, but he grew up in California
Right.
and or worked in California. And I think he started in the early 2000s. But when you and I started, you started in 2005. I started mine in 2007. That's when a lot of people started getting into this whole food blogging thing. And my story is quite simple. Around that point is when I first got my PC. I got internet at home. I got my digital camera. So the stars were aligned, and I started searching for some Greek recipes online. I didn't like what I found. They were dumbed down Greek recipes, simplified, or perhaps just off. And I found out about blogging, and I said, you know what? Let me throw my hat into the ring, and I think I can add something of value. And here I am now. It's 2023, and still doing it.
That's great. Excuse me. I'm just losing my voice here. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing, your Greek heritage, how the family has played a part in your career in food, who was the cook in your family. Tell us about your family table. So go for it. It's a lot of.
Sure. I was born and raised here in Toronto. Both parents immigrated from Greece to Canada. We live in Toronto, and like in many other countries in the Mediterranean, Greeks are very food oriented. Sundays here in Canada, practically everything was closed up until like maybe the early 1990s. They were still holding out that Sunday's a family day, etc. And it was a time for family gatherings and memories of my mom cooking up stuffed peppers. It could be a Sunday roast, like a Greek style one. It could be her making a phyllo pie and some other stuff. In the summertime, one of my favorite dishes, I was talking about this with another friend, are zucchini stuffed with a ground meat rice mixture, kind of like stuffed peppers, and it's either finished in a pot or in the oven, and then it's finished with an egg lemon or avgo lemono emulsion, and it's one of my favorite dishes. And so those, my mom was a big influence on my cooking. She was a fantastic cook. God bless her and her soul. The ladies on my mom's side were generally fantastic. So my maternal grandmother, her sisters, they all were fantastic cooks. We'd go to Greece practically every summer, and you got to try other dishes there as well, and from different regions. And sometimes just by pure chance. I remember one year we were returning back to Canada after our summer vacation, and we were in Athens, and there's the old Athens airport had two airports. One was for Olympic Airways, the national airline. The other terminal was for the international airlines. And so you had to go, we had to have both uses of both of the airlines. We went from one terminal to the other, and our flight was delayed. And there was a restaurant that was run by Olympic Catering, the folks that were taking care of also the food service for all the flights. And we said, let's go have lunch. And they had pasticcio. We had never had that before, or our family hadn't, which is
What region of Greece was your family from?
our family's from northern Greece. So if you take a look at the map of Greece, you go about 5 hours north to the second largest city, which is Thessaloniki, and about 90 minutes northwest to an area called Florina, near the borders with former Yugoslavia, etc. And it's a mountainous area, agrarian, lots of farmers at the time. My first trip to Greece, I remember livestock, etc. And it's changed now. Everybody's gotten so much more modern, but it was really a culture shock. I remember as a little boy going to Greece then.
You were talking about your many trips back to Greece, but
Mm-hmm.
you constantly do that. Have you ever considered running a tour to Greece and taking people with you?
I did a tour once. It went very well. I had a partner in Greece. We attempted to do a second one. Uh, it didn't go through because the partner that in Greece was doing some funny stuff. I wasn't happy with it, and I was concerned about some of the people that signed up that they were going to get their refund, for the tour. They did get their
Right.
refund. I was persistent in that, in the partner in Greece in reimbursing these folks, and I'm glad everything turned out fine. But I wouldn't bother for myself. I want to go on vacation when I go to Greece. If friends are over there in Greece, they can hop along for part of my trip, and definitely go and dine at a restaurant or go to a market,
Right.
etc. But it's my time to actually go and enjoy Greece through for myself.
Right.
There's plenty of great tour operators out there, and also it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. You just can't wake up and say, you know what, I'm going to go and do a food tour. I think you have to really curate the vendors, the suppliers, the company that supplies the minivan to take your folks around, the restaurants you're going
Right.
to, where the cooking classes are going to be, etc. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, and been on tours, there are always some needy people.
Yeah, and
Yes.
so and that's one of the reasons why a lot of these tours are expensive. The accommodations have to be fantastic, uh, by Western standards. It doesn't have to be deluxe, like Ritz Carlton, but everything has to be very, very good because of those needy people that really need to have the hand holding and have to have those amenities as well.
Right.
And the downside of that is it makes these culinary trips out of reach for many other people that otherwise would be able to attend them, right? And you can't really categorize and have different style of hotels for the same people in the same group of the tour. Everybody's got to be together, and just makes it logistically easier as well.
Right.
I think, I'll circle back there. There's a lot of fantastic tours in Greece and the Mediterranean.
Right.
Let the folks over there handle that. If anybody wants to send me a note after about
You can direct them.
where they want to take a tour, I can give them a few names, and then they can decide with who they want to jump on board with.
Right. Let's get to your new book.
Yeah,
Number
I got it here
7.
too. I'm
We have
prepared.
twins,
Yes.
and this is Everything One Pot Mediterranean Cookbook. Now, we're not just saying Instapot, and we're not just saying slow cooker. We're talking about sheet pans, baking dishes, skillets, whatever. So what I found, this is just to make life simple, less cleanup. It all can be done in one pan. What was the inspiration on this one?
Believe it or not, again, thinking back to my mother, aunts, grandmothers having to cook up a meal for a lot of hungry folks. The nuclear family back then for a lot of Greek homes was whereby you had the parents and perhaps grandparents, and living all under the same roof. So you had to feed a lot of people. And I remember, for example, one year being in Greece, it was a Sunday. We were at a uncle's summer home by the sea, and his mother went and made a big sheet pan of food. It was like a Greek roast meat and potatoes kind of a dish. So, and I have a recipe like that we can talk about afterwards in the book. And a lot of these homes, however, also weren't equipped for an oven. They had a stovetop, etc. Sundays, the bakery was closed. So they'd have like a little insignia on the sheet pan, and the lady would take it to the bakery and they would bake it for people. People would go to church, they'd go swimming, etc., come back for lunch and go and get that sheet pan of food for that family. Okay. And there's tons of one pot meals in Mediterranean cooking that are old school, in a pot, in a sheet pan, heavy Dutch oven, And that's the initial inspiration. Even pressure cookers. A lot of people in the Mediterranean, ladies that were like, when my mom was getting married, etc., one of the things they were getting as wedding gifts were pressure cookers. And that was the fancy new item of the time. Some ladies were intimidated by it. Other ones embraced it. And it's a big time saver.
Well, I learned about pressure cookers from my late mother-in-law. And once she showed me how to use it, it was 2 seconds. I don't need an Instapot. I actually have 2 pressure cookers. Somebody gave me one. They didn't know what to do with it. So, soup, stews, whatever. But I have a question. In the book, it says, do not use frozen foods in the pressure cooker. Why is that?
Good question. It's probably going to have to do with it, with the textural thing. The food, like if the food's frozen and it's going to give off moisture, etc., it's probably you're probably not going to have the result that you want to have otherwise, and it'll probably, I'm just guesstimating here, it probably could throw off the cooking times.
Okay. Well, I'm famous for throwing in some, semi-defrosted chicken thighs or whatever. So I'm reading this and I'm going, I've been using it all wrong. If it tastes okay, it's not that bad. So
it might be a safety thing also that the lawyers have told these folks with regards to Instant Pot and pressure cookers as well. There might have been some cases of some accidents happening.
Yeah,
and
boom, boom.
Myself also, even though I'm not professionally trained, I learned on the cuff, my parents, etc. We still have to follow some proper food handling methods, etc. And so, safety is very important in the kitchen as well.
All right.
Including the pressure cooker. But I'm like you, Dara. I have a pressure cooker. I don't have an Instant Pot. When I was developing the book, I borrowed my sister-in-law's Instant Pot so I could test some dishes out. And there's only so much room on the counter space.
Right. I did not get the air fryer.
I don't have one either.
I'm sorry. I'm done. I'm not going to replace my toaster oven. I'm fine with my times. I can stick it in the oven and blow on it.
Well, let me tell you something else, and this is for other folks. I have an oven I have a basement kitchen where I do some food prep for some food orders, etc., if I'm prepping for a dinner. And that oven, which is probably 10 years old, has a proofing button. So you can proof bread. The new ovens, and it's a gas stove, now has an air fryer function on it. So how does that work? It's convection with the broiler working at the same time, and that's how they achieve the whole air fryer process in your oven at home. So if somebody doesn't have or doesn't want to spend money on an air fryer, maybe they can upgrade to their next stove and oven.
Right. Well, I'm in an apartment. My broiler's on the bottom. I have to lay on the floor to use, which I don't. I use my toaster oven. It's just me. I'm not broiling that much.
The toaster ovens are great for if you're just cooking for solo, for sure.
Right. Mediterranean, when we say that, the Everything One Pot Mediterranean cookbook, Mediterranean is pretty broad stroke because you have, as you said in the book, Spain, southern France, Italy, Greece, and the Middle East. Are there any culinary common denominators amongst these countries?
And don't forget North Africa, right?
Right.
The whole Mediterranean basin. It's the basic ingredients that seem to keep on repeating themselves, like olive oil, found throughout the Mediterranean. All these countries use it. Legumes. It's prominent all around the Mediterranean. Citrus and lemon for sure. Pasta of some form or another, not just the Italians. Everybody has their own little thing with pasta. What else would I would say the tomatoes as well, even though that's was brought over to Europe by Columbus, but all these nations use a tomato in one way or the other. And same thing with peppers, etc. But
Okay.
the each country and each region gives a different interpretation of those same ingredients.
Right. I was just curious as to how you saw it. We do have a question here,
Sure.
and they say, I've heard food in Greece is far better than what we get here in America. Any restaurants in Baltimore, New York, or Chicago that you believe are close?
Baltimore I've never been to, so I can't answer. Chicago I have been to many times, and I love the city. Uh, I would suggest two places. One place is called Avli. They have probably three restaurants, and let's face it, like these are Greek restaurants that are operating here in North America, and they have to appeal somewhat to a North American taste, but they also have some dishes that are quite traditional as well. And Avli, I think, will do well. And another one escapes me. The chef is half Greek, half Jewish. Daniel Schneider. Look up Chef Daniel Schneider in Chicago, and you'll find his restaurant there as well. It's a nice little small spot. He's got a great Greek wine list as well, and those are great in Chicago. Manhattan and Astoria, New York, have fantastic Greek restaurants. Having said all that, the reason why Greek food tastes so much better in Greece is that it's fresh, it's local, and it's seasonal by and large. You know, Greece has succumbed to globalization of having fruits and vegetables available on the off seasons as much as here in Canada and the United States. But they follow the whole seasonality and the local mantra much more than we would do it over here. I remember in the early days when I was young, the magic year was 1990. That's when Greece formally opened its markets to the European Union. Yeah, that meant that they had to allow a lot of imports into the country, be it produce and also food items on the supermarket. It was the first time I'd see lettuces in the middle of summer. In Greece, in the old days, you couldn't find it. It was too hot. You'd find it in spring and in autumn. And they wouldn't be imported unless it was an expensive, high-end hotel or a resort. So that's why it tastes better over there. It's seasonal and it's local.
Right. And you talked about tomatoes. I want to, I just knew this was going to happen. Somebody's knocking on my door. The exterminators are they'll let themselves in. The show's going on.
Sure.
So talking about tomatoes, passata and tomato puree. Passata is coming to the forefront. It wasn't things that I saw on the shelf before.
Yeah.
What is the difference? Is there a difference between passata and tomato puree?
Yeah, there is. You'll especially see that if you go to a restaurant.
I'm going to ask you to go ahead and talk. I have to do something. I'll be right back.
Okay, you let this exterminator in. So, hi, everybody. Passata, tomato paste, tomato purees. If you go to your the shelves or the area where the tomato paste and the sauces are found, or even if you go to a restaurant supply store that you might have access to, they have different densities. Some are like you have tomato paste, which is really reduced, okay, and you have to add water to it. Same with passata. It's kind of concentrated, not as much as tomato puree. And then you have tomato sauces that are cooked to a certain amount. And then you can even have even a jar of or what your Italian they would have is just the jars of the plum tomatoes, where it's got a higher water content, but they've been jarred and sterilized properly. So it depends on what cooking method you're using for. The passata I like using as my base for my pizza sauce, which I'm going to have a friend come over tonight. We're having pizza night tonight. You just put that onto your pizza dough. You add your flavorings some garlic powder, some oregano, etc. Put your cheese on top, your toppings, and you're good. There's no need for salt. It's got a little bit of salt. Tomato paste is used for those people that might have access to that, or maybe short, not as much shelf space. So, the basic rule of thumb is if you don't have tomatoes or the tomato sauce, you get a a tablespoon of tomato paste. You dilute it in a cup of hot water, and that's your 1 cup of tomato sauce. It'll do the same thing for you.
Right.
It's just such the market's opened up so much that we have choice as consumers. We're fortunate, and we're also unlucky in that we can't decide what to buy.
Right. Mastija, which was a spice, and I worked for Van Spices, and they had unusual spices and herbs and everything. I never heard of this. What is that?
Mastika is also the word in Greek that we use to describe gum or chewing gum. So there's an island called Chios. It's one of these Greek islands. It's near the Turkish coast. It's about 30 minutes directly east if you fly from Athens, near the city of Zmirni/Izmir on the Turkish coast. On the southern part of this island grows the Chios, the tree, where mastika is actually harvested. So mastika comes from the sap that drips off of this mastika tree. Okay. And they have people humans actually have to physically collect it off of the ground. They'll remove the dirt. They will then also divide in different size pieces, and they call them mastika tears because it looks like the trees are actually crying, the sap off of these trees.
So is that like mastic?
Yes.
Mastic.
It's the same as mastic, but like we call it mastika.
Mastika. Okay.
Yeah,
all
mastika.
Right.
And in cooking, we'll use it in pastry. The Greek Easter brioche has the ground mastika inside there as well. Custards and creams. Not too much in savory baking. It's very good for stomach ailments. And oftentimes people will just chew on a little bit. And the properties will actually help out with any sort of stomach ailments or an upset stomach. And it's a pricey spice as well. I believe it goes for about 50 euros a kilo right now, which is, it's pricey.
Yeah. Some things I can live without.
We use it, we use it. Another spice that Greece produces and is also pricey is saffron in northern Greece. Another pricey one as well.
Well, that is the most expensive spice in the world.
Likely, yeah. Yeah, it's up
when
there.
When I worked for Vans, I bought an ounce of saffron. I still have it.
Well, the good thing is that it's something that holds in your pantry quite well. And the other good thing is a little goes a long way.
Right. I mean, I have it for life. I'll have friends who'll collect when I'm gone. They'll still be using it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to remind people there are 6. This is the 7th cookbook. A lot of them are called the Everything. I think in 2021 you had 2 books come out, one a diet book and one about greens.
Yes, everything Mediterranean green diet, which was following the Mediterranean diet, but a focus more on a plant-based diet, no red meat. Some chicken was allowed, and a reduction in dairy as well. So that was that actually what did quite well, and that book was released during the 2 years of the constant lockdowns. People had extra money to spend on books. They had extra time. A lot of people were cooking at home, so the timing was good.
Great. And the pop-up dinners. I want to remind people, Kalofagas, it's up here.com. Keep track of the events. You're catering, you're doing international pop-up dinners. What's coming up that we should know about?
Actually, I have a pop-up dinner. I call them Greek supper clubs here in Toronto. Toronto has a central market called St. Lawrence Market, and on the second floor there is a venue where you can conduct cooking classes or dinners, and it's an open kitchen. This dinner that's coming up focuses on the city of Volos, and the city of Volos is known for its Greek-style tapas bars, and it's meze, but it's much like the way they do in Spain, where you order a round of drinks and they'll bring you the free meze or tapas. In the rest of Greece, you pay for them, and most of the other parts of the Mediterranean. So that's coming up this weekend. And then I have one more supper club coming up July 16th. There's another venue I use here in Toronto where it's an outdoor courtyard. So people, it's really popular. It actually sold out earlier today, within 2 days of being on sale online. And I have a waiting list that's building up. Hopefully they'll give me a second date. And that's going to be rotisserie, lamb on the spit, a lot of grilled items, people dining outside. My seating format is communal dining. So even though you'll be assured of sitting with your friends that you've purchased tickets with, you'll also sit beside some strangers as well.
I love communal dining.
I love communal dining, and people have become friends from these pop-up dinners.
Right. Let me get to my wrap-up questions. We can keep talking. I had a lot of other questions, but
I did my homework, Dara. I'm ready.
You're ready. Okay. What's the best bite you had all week?
When I was in New York recently doing a philo class, one of my sponsors, Optima Foods, gave me feta cheese to use for making my spinach pies, and it was barrel-aged feta. And I went and bought some more barrel-aged feta here in Toronto because I can't bring it across the border, and it's tremendous. For those people who love feta cheese, go and look for a barrel-aged feta. It won't be in a barrel necessarily. Some of the Greek markets have it, and they'll give you a slab. But you can also buy it in the little plastic containers inside the brine, so it's been cut from the barrel-aged feta. It's just got a tremendous flavor. It's if you're a feta lover, you're gonna love it. It's not, right. And when people say feta, like the Greek feta is salty, I don't know where they're getting that from. It's the best.
If you could go back and give your 18-year-old self a piece of advice, what would it be?
I would have traveled more, and I would have traveled to go see more of the rest of the world rather than just Europe. We have a summer home in Greece. I went there quite often with the family, but I probably should have seen other parts of the world more. I can still do that, but it's harder now, but with the type of work I'm doing now as well. If I'm not here, I'm not working, I'm not getting paid because I'm self-employed. And perhaps, see some of Asia. I really love Asian cuisine, the different cultures, and
I'm sorry. Have a question. It says, so other than Greek food, what foods do you crave? So I'm taking
Asian for sure. You know what? When I come back to Toronto from Greece, I crave Asian food.
Okay.
I don't want to eat international food in Greece. I'm always having this debate and arguing with my friends and relatives. Give me the hot new Greek restaurant. Give me the one that's unique. It's doing something different. I don't want to try the Chinese restaurant in Athens. That's for the locals. I can have that back here. And Toronto is blessed to have a fantastic Asian cuisine scene, like in general.
Right. If you wake up tomorrow morning with a new talent, what would it be?
I thought about this, and I'm going back to boyhood dreams. I would have liked to have been a pilot. And again, it ties in with travel, etc. I think that's pretty fascinating. I know a lot of the technology handles flying for the pilots and all, but it gives you the opportunity to fly all around the world as well.
And the last question, what didn't I ask you that I probably should have?
That one I couldn't come up with.
Well, you couldn't know that in advance because you didn't know what the interview would be. So
yeah. Well,
any last words for our audience?
I would say cook what you like to cook. I know a lot of people are tied with the internet, etc. Don't try and impress other people or try and guess what people would like. Cook what you enjoy. Stay in your comfort zone to a certain extent, but don't be afraid to make a mistake. And learn from your mistakes and try again. That's that. All these other folks that are out there that are making these perfect dishes, etc. That was done through trial and error. So don't be afraid to do that. But cook what you enjoy, I think.
Good advice. I want to thank you. And
Dara,
it's been a pleasure meeting you. And we never know. One day our paths might cross. You never know.
Oh, you never know. That's
no. You'll come to DC, and I'll
It's on my
Um,
list. I haven't been yet. I heard the food scene's getting better and better year by year,
and
and over to
I think
Baltimore as well.
you know Amy Riolo.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so Amy's over there.
All right.
Good friend.
Yes, yeah. We haven't met yet, but we get along. We're colleagues in the same business, and
Right.
it'd be great to finally catch up with her in person.
I think she's up to 13 books or 14.
Wow, I got some catching up to do then, huh? All right.
You do. All the best, and I have some notes and messages for my audience, and all the best to you. Thank you for
Likewise,
joining us.
Dara. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Cheers.
Okay. Everyone, next week's guest will be Amy Zittelman, CEO of Zoom Foods. She and her sisters make what many consider to be the best tahini available in the U.S. Amy was recognized by Forbes magazines for their 30 under 30 and an author of the Tahini Table. Just a little reminder, monthly, J Moore Magazine is giving away $50 gift cards to some of your favorite local Baltimore restaurants. Visit jmoreliving.com/contest to enter to win. If you need to reach me, you can reach me at food@jmoreliving.com or Instagram @DaraCooks. All shows are immediately archived in video form on JMore's Facebook and jmoreliving.com. Feel free to dig into our video archives of past shows. We truly appreciate it when you share our show with friends and family. May your plates always, always remain full. I will see you next Thursday. Thank you for joining us.